in Santa Barbara, California today for the second part in the Coastliners video series. Amtrak train number 14, the Coast Starlight, is just pulling into the station with Caltrain locomotive number 910 on the point. The 910 will be taken off at San Jose this evening, leaving Amtrak P40 number 839 and P42 number 113 to pull the train to Seattle. It is not unusual to see a variety of motive power on the coastline, and today is no exception. Caltrain locomotives are sometimes sent to Amtrak's Redondo shops in Los Angeles for heavy maintenance. At one time, the Starlight was Amtrak's premier long-distance train. However, due to a variety of factors, including chronically poor on-time performance, service deteriorated, and the train became known as the Star Late. Recently, the service has markedly improved, and Amtrak intends to relaunch the Starlight brand in 2008 with a new high level of service. Here is a more recent addition to the coastline, train number 799, making the trip from Los Angeles to San Luis Obispo and back in one day, returning as train 798. This train mimics the famous Coast Daylight from the Southern Pacific era, but unfortunately terminates at San Luis Obispo. Today's train is being pulled by a surfliner F59PH, with an F40 cabbage car on the rear serving as a control car. The Great Dome Ocean View is also in the consist, and we will see some views along the coast from this dome. And bringing up the rear is the cabbage car, a neutered F40, which now functions as a control and baggage car. Here is the Starlight with a Caltrans F59PH on the point. We are riding on the private car Pacific Sands on train 799. Trains 799 and 798 normally operate with single-level equipment, such as Horizon cars. From Gaviota north to Surf, the only public access to the ocean is at Halama Beach. The train is the only way the public can see this beautiful and rugged 36-mile stretch of coastline. The night of September 8, 1923, 7 U.S. Navy destroyers made a tragic navigational error and piled up on the rocks here at Honda. 23 lives were lost. The Southern Pacific employees rushed to the aid of the stricken sailors and ran a special hospital train to Santa Barbara for the more severely injured. The less injured were taken to the former depot at Surf, where the wives of the railwaymen set up a triage area and cooked meals for the survivors. Flotsam in the water is due to severe winter storms in 2005. We're here at Surf early in the morning as the Union Pacific Unit oil train is traveling north to one post. This train was established years ago at the behest of environmentalists who were concerned about the possibility of an oil spill, as an alternative to having tankers load offshore. The oil goes to a refinery in San Pedro. This is Train 776, the Morning Central Coast Surfliner, which runs all the way to San Diego. There's a passenger platform here at Surf, which serves Lompoc and Vandenberg Air Force Base. Also, the Lompoc Industrial Lead branches off from here, and we will come back near the end of the program for a look at the Lompoc local. From Surf, the line turns slightly inland and travels through Vandenberg Air Force Base. The large rocket gantries are visible from the train, but once again, there is no public access to this area for the next 16 miles until Casmalia. Vaughan is noted for having the sole remaining wigwag on the coastline. Because it is on private oil company property, we can only show it from the adjacent highway and the train. This is the unmanned station in Guadalupe where the Central Coast Surfliners, but not the Starlight, stop 4 times a day. Guadalupe is also the interchange point with the Santa Maria Valley Railroad. Here we see Santa Maria's GE-70 tonners at work. We will see much more of this interesting short line in a special chapter later on in the program. Bromella is a small yard used to assemble trains of coke produced by the ConocoPhillips refinery just north of here in Nipomo. We are passing the refinery now. Look at that pile of sulfur extracted from the crude oil. The sulfur is a byproduct which is sold for fertilizer and industrial use. Arroyo Grande was once served by the narrow-gauge Pacific Coast Railway. We will see a remnant of that in San Luis Obispo. Oceano is noted for its beautifully restored Common Standard No. 22 Southern Pacific Depot. The depot is now used as a community meeting room. Too bad the semaphore is not still in use. Here's a flashback to 1997, before the merger of the SP with the UP. Here we see the northbound Starlight entering Price Canyon. The Pacific Ocean is just a short distance away behind the trees seen on the horizon. This is the beautiful station at San Luis Obispo, site of the 5th California mission founded by Father Serra in 1772. Here we see some pre-merger SP diesels. The SP was known for its filthy locomotives. Note the 2 tunnel motors in this scene. Now it's 2007 and we see the southbound Starlight arriving on time. The northbound Starlight is also scheduled to arrive within the hour.
I'll drink one of each.
The San Luis Depot is located in the Railroad Historic District. This plaque commemorates the narrow-gauge Pacific Coast Railway, which ran from 1876 to 1940. The right-of-way was on top of this berm near Broad Street. A strip mall was recently built on this site. This is the same train we saw arriving at Santa Barbara in the beginning of the program. Coastliners 3 will cover the remainder of the coastline from San Luis Obispo to CP Coast in Santa Clara. It's Thursday night in San Luis and the farmers market is in full swing on Higuera Street. The Lompoc Local operates from Surf on the White Hills Industrial Lead and serves the former Johns Manville, now Cellite plant transporting diatomaceous earth. Here we see some street running on A Street in Lompoc. It's Wednesday morning on Jones Street in Santa Maria. GP9 number 1801 is moving west for its day of switching local industries. The Santa Maria Valley Railroad interchanges with the Union Pacific in Guadalupe. After stopping to pick up some loaded cars, the train arrives at the Diamond before spotting some reefers at a local potato packing plant.
Are you off?
No, I just stay running.
The 1801 makes the joint and shoves westward with a load of lumber and a hopper of plastic pellets for industries located in the air base, a former World War II military base now used as an industrial park. Having left the airbase, 1801 picked up a loaded refrigerator car from a freezer plant, reassembled its train, and moved southward to pick up a load of petroleum distillates from the refinery at Carr. And finally, the train arrives at Guadalupe to spot the outbound cars on the interchange track for the UP to pick up. Let's climb on for a ride back to the refinery.
Getting a good view straight ahead? Yeah.
you going straight to the engine house?
Probably.
Can I just leave this on here? Get it from you?
Santa Maria Valley's economy historically has been agrarian in nature. We grew grain crops and beans, and cattle were also raised. The biggest problem was getting the produce out. The Central Coast was isolated by mountain ranges on both the north and south, so sea landings were used originally. The first railroad came through Santa Maria, then known as Central City, in April of 1882. This line was built narrow gauge from the seaport at Hartford near San Luis Obispo through San Luis Obispo and the communities of Arroyo Grande and Nipomo, reaching Santa Maria. When this transpired, the economic activity moved from Guadalupe, which was the mother city of the valley, to Santa Maria, where a building boom ensued. Shortly after the narrow gauge railroad built through, Union Sugar Company was established on the shores of Lake Guadalupe, and their refinery was in operation by December of 1899. Both the narrow gauge and the Southern Pacific, who had built a coastline by this time, built spurs into Betteravia. The oil industry was established about the same time. Prospectors were investigating oil seeps as early as 1895. The first well of any success was drilled on the Carriega Ranch. That came in March of 1902. The most famous oil well in the area, of course, is the one known as Old Mott on Orchid Hill, and that was drilled by the Union Oil Company, and it came in 1905 and was a gusher. It produced over 3 million barrels of oil over a 2-year period before it was put on the pump. The narrow gauge had to build tank cars to haul the oil off, as well as pipelines. In 1911, an English oil syndicate announced that they would be building a standard gauge railroad from the end of the spur that Southern Pacific had extended to Betteravia into the hills above Sisquoc at a place called the Palmer Annex oil field. At this time, the narrow gauge announced that they would standard gauge their lines from the Sisquoc area to Guadalupe, but this never transpired. In 1911, the rails were laid down from the Betteravia area. The city council wanted the rails to come through the city of Santa Maria, and they persuaded the alignment to be shifted through the town, which was at that time about 2 miles north of the proposed route. So this is the reason that the line seems to meander across the valley. It was completed into the Rhodamite area in December of 1911, and they were shipping oil by January of 1912. The business on the railroad pretty much picked up and reached a peak around 1917. At this time, we had gotten involved in World War I, and after the war years, business dropped off for the railroad. Continued to do so until 1924. Captain G.A. Hancock then came onto the board as president. In 1925, it was announced that he purchased the railroad at auction, and it was reorganized into the Santa Maria Valley Railroad, and he stayed on as president, and he continued to develop it. He also invested in the oil fields. He bought the 400-acre Nicholson Ranch east of town. He bought the Santa Maria ice and cold storage facilities at Miller and Boone, and expanded that operation, built more packing plants, pretty much began to develop the valley. He was a visionary, and what he had in mind was shifting the economic emphasis from the dry farming to irrigated crops and crop rotation. And Santa Maria then began to develop into a fresh vegetable center. The traffic on the rail line continued to grow, and up before the World War II years, Hancock also built the Hancock Air Academy, which was one of the only ones in the nation. and it exists today as Hancock College. Right prior to World War II, the Pacific Coast Railway, which had become a victim of obsolescence due to increased automobile traffic and further completion of the standard gauge lines, their traffic dropped off gradually, and the line petitioned for abandonment prior to the advent of World War II. As soon as war was declared on Japan, the tracks were torn up, and steel, of course, was used in our war effort. Right after the start of World War II, the Army established an air base out at what is now the Santa Maria Public Airport. The railroad built a spur to that area, and they brought in train loads of cadets for flight training. After the war years, the railroad continued to prosper and was one of the largest shipping points for fresh vegetables in the nation. Continued to prosper up into the 70s. At this time, of course, the interstate highway system was nearing completion, and truckers started becoming a factor. Truckers gradually got the fresh vegetable trade away from rail industries nationwide, and the railroad continued to haul beets into Betaravia. The situation that changed out there was that the sugar mill, of course, was becoming obsolescence through age, and also the farmers stopped growing beets here locally. Beets take a long time to mature, about as long as 5 months, and farmers found that they could make more money planting crops, and they could turn their fields maybe 3 to 4 times a year. Holly Sugar planned on operating the plant only a short period of time. The sugar industry as a whole was consolidating the industry. Sugar is a very competitive product, and the foreign nations with cheaper labor can raise sugar much more economically than most of the domestic companies can harvest. And at that time, things became hard for the Santa Maria Valley Railroad. It was little after that new management took over, and forward thinking is turning the company around. And they're actually expanding, and things are getting better. So the outlook looks bright for the Valley Railroad.
These 8mm movie scenes are from a Railway and Locomotive Historical Society excursion on April 20, 1958. Number 21 was built by Baldwin in 1925 and ran on the Santa Maria Valley for 37 years. She is now in Astoria, Oregon, awaiting restoration. The excursion train is pictured on page 80 of Hal Madsen's book, Railroads of the Santa Maria Valley. Train sounds are from actual reel-to-reel recordings made on the excursion.
Sorry.